Welcome back to Health, Wellbeing and Lifestyle, where we love to educate and inspire the community with topics around living healthier, feeling more balanced and living a life we love. And today we have Dr. Zara Chelik back with us, our integrative health and wellness expert. And the topic today is body dysmorphia. So welcome, Zara.
Thank you.
What is dysmorphia?
Well, dysmorphia comes from the word morphia, which means form. So usually that can occur in individuals where they are comparing themselves to somebody else. Usually they are infatuated with someone. When it comes to body dysmorphia, they're comparing their body parts to someone else. Or it could be also a comparison of intellectual capacity. They could be comparing themselves to say, oh, they're smarter than me. That's a form of dysmorphia. Or they're richer than me, or they're wealthier than me, or they've got better family than me. So they're all dysmorphia, but today let's focus on and talk about body dysmorphia. And in that, usually people comparing their body parts to someone else. I recently had a lady that I was actually talking to, and she went through a procedure, a cosmetic procedure, because she thought that the person that her boyfriend was actually following and watching on social media was more attractive than her. So she was looking to see what her boyfriend was actually, looking at in that individual, which was on social media, by the way, and in overseas. So she then thought, okay, well, she compared then her to herself. That was on social media. And she then took the step and went and did a cosmetic procedure because she was comparing her body part to this individual on social media. So I asked a question to her. I said, where have you perceived yourself having that form? She's very intelligent. And then she looked into it because I made her aware. She wasn't able to see that not only she also perceived herself attractive in the same form as the model was on social media, but also she had it in different forms, which was her intelligence, which was her career, which were her business and her education. And the minute she saw that, and she had that reflected awareness, because I made her aware by questioning her, she was able to accept and love her body for who she was, rather than comparing herself to some other person and try to become her, which she wasn't going to become her, right? She's an individual.
Yeah, if I may. And the other thing I just clicked with me is, of course, online, you see these people and they're all, it's all, you can't tell exactly what they look like. Let's put it, what is it, Photoshop or whatever.
That too, yes.
It's being done all the time.
Exactly, and especially with our teenagers, right? They're sort of going through a stage in their life trying to work out who they are, and also they're comparing their body particularly to other people, and they want to become like them. I just want to tell them, embrace and love who you are and have reflective awareness about where do you display that form. And if it is the body, there's also a side of you, you're not just like disliking your body completely, you're not disowning it. I'm sure there are parts that you're also owning. So go to the parts that you're owning where you feel confident and comfortable and embrace that, and that could give you that confidence. So then you're not comparing yourself to others. And with, again, social media, like you said, it's not always the truth and the true reflection of things. And I want people to be aware of that as well, because that's huge. And not only in teenagers, I also have, a lot of women, mature women, even the language that they use about their body. I hate that about my body. The minute they do it, I pick up on that. It's like, where have you actually loved that part of you? So that's quite significant. And then immediately they go to their mind, the subconscious, and get into balancing the mind within themselves. So then they create the equity between themselves and the other person that they're comparing it to. So usually it's the comparison. They're trying to be like somebody. It's the comparison of things where the individual then starts having dysmorphia. Because I'm not fit enough, I'm not pretty enough, I'm not attractive enough, or my size isn't just like her or him. So that's where it all comes in. But once we create the that equity between the individual outside of us and ourselves, and the balance within our mind, that's where we actually overcome dysmorphia.
And does that then also, with the body dysmorphia, does that lead into things like anorexia and
It can, absolutely. So that's when, having that conflict within. That's why I said balancing the mind. So when there's that conflict, they will want to be like, oh, she's skinny, I'll just won't eat, or I will just, or bulimia is another one. They eat, they throw up, they always have that, up and down in the weight. They're always constantly comparing themselves to somebody else. And of course, yes, it can lead to anorexia and bulimia, for sure.
And so how does it, you've sort of said a bit about how it plays out, I suppose, but how does it then, how do you actually work with people with that to help them to overcome it, or to help to feel better about it?
Yeah, great question. So I will encourage people, stop the minute they see they've infatuated with somebody and they've got this fantasy going, to stop and say, well, what is it exactly I'm admiring in that person? And where have I that displayed in me? Where do I have it also in my own form? In my intelligence, apart from the looks, or even the looks. They may be comparing the fitness of the arm, but see where else you are fit. They may be comparing the stomach area to somebody else. Well, go to form and find in other form. What part of your body do you love and own? So find the form that you love and the form that you're confident and comfortable with. So you dissolve the dysmorphia. For not everybody loves every single body part, but there are things that we really like, and we just accentuate that and we bring that forward and we look at that and feel comfortable. And there's other parts who may not feel very comfortable, but then there's that whole balance even in the body, and I want people to be aware of that. Even with our body parts, there's that balance. And once we become aware, say, hey, yes, I may not like my legs very much, but I love maybe my face or my hair or my eye, just giving an example. So I like people to find their own form and see what they're admiring in other persons actually within them once they find it.
And Zara, what advice would you give our viewers as a number one, a first thing?
Sure. So be aware of the language that you're using. Are you self-critical? That's a common one, right? And then when that creates the equity in the mind. So you are actually balancing your own mind through the thought process and the language that you have, and also contributing to the biochemistry of the mind. The other thing is, when you catch yourself being infatuated or admiring someone so much, stop immediately and ask yourself the question, what is it exactly I'm admiring in them? And find it in your own form. Where have I admired myself? And find your form. And that will help you to create equity between you and the individual that you're admiring or infatuated with.
Great. Thank you, Zara.
My pleasure.
And for more information on Dr. Zara Celik and body dysmorphia, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And now we'll go to break. Welcome back, and now we have Steve Hall with us, part of the series on living a life of value and meaning. And next he's talking to us this time about identity and uniqueness. Steve, what is identity?
Well, it's many things, Linda. Some people, when you ask them, what's your identity, they might think that you're talking about, their passport or their license. They might show you, who they're told that they are. But it's way more than that. Like, we've got many identities. You could have an identity as being a parent. You could have an identity as what you do at work, or your different roles in life. We've got many identities. And it's not really who we are. Identities are the things that we do, the things that we belong to and perform. So we have many different identities in life. And why it's important to know about identities is to understand what we're doing, as opposed to identifying with our identity and thinking that's who we really are, right? So, you figure out who you are. When I got home from work in my corporate role, the first thing I did when I got home was take my uniform off, because I didn't really feel like I was myself until I got dressed in my own clothes. Then I felt more who I was. I stopped being that identity at work and I became the identity of who I was at home. It's a lot like Michelangelo's statue of David, right? There's this beautiful sculpture of David, and it really comes to life when you're looking at it. And Michelangelo once got asked, how did you create such a beautiful work of art? And he said, well, I don't think I did that. I just chiseled off the bits of stone that didn't belong to David. You know, I just let him out. I released who he was. He was in there inside the block of stone. And our identity is a lot like those bits of stone. They're stuck all over us and they really cover up who we are sometimes. We stop seeing the person in the core, you know, who we truly are, that special uniqueness that we bring, you know, when we are being ourselves.
So that now that you've mentioned so why is that important to find that our uniqueness?
Yeah, I think it's really important to understand the uniqueness that we have. You know, what makes us special? What do we bring to the world? Because everyone brings something unique that only you can bring. It's you're being who you can be, and you're releasing that special thing that's inside yourself. So that other people can see you as well. And that's what other people see and connect with. We don't really connect with what people do and the different identities they're performing so much as the person. But inside our own head, sometimes we get caught up with being the identity in life, and we lose track of who we really are. And some people still to this day won't know what we're talking about in this subject. Well, I know who I am. I look in the mirror, there I am. No, it's something deeper than that. It's this sense of belonging and the sense of who am I really? You know, like how would you describe yourself to somebody else? Normally when you ask a person that question, they'll describe their identities, you know, what they do in life or what they've achieved or what they're worth. They don't really describe who they are. And it's a really difficult question to answer when you start thinking about it. You know, who am I really? It's such an important question because if you really want to find out what your purpose is in life, how to live the best life that you can possibly live, really need to understand who you truly are in the core of you, or otherwise you don't have a beginning or a starting point. You know, you'll be sort of lost. You'll be living a life that's not authentic.
So you mentioned purpose. That's a valid point. So the purpose, what would you say that meant for someone as part of that uniqueness?
Yeah, purpose is aligned with your uniqueness, definitely, because when you understand that special bit that you bring to the world that they see, when you connect with that, and that's where you can extrapolate, you know, from that you can imagine, well, how can I really bring this to life? And what do I love doing to bring that specialness to life? And that creates purpose in everything we do. And it's a bit like, you know, we're talking about identity and uniqueness. Well, you can bring your uniqueness to your identity, but you can't take your identity to your uniqueness. So what I mean by that is bringing your uniqueness to all those different roles that you have in life, a parent, what you do, etc. When you bring that uniqueness, that special essence of who you truly are, all of a sudden you do all those identities with passion. And it starts meaning something. You know, you start bringing the best of yourself out and putting them in what everyone else sees. And it really escalates your life. It's the beginning of living a truly extraordinary life over just living a life where you're filling the identities, if that makes sense.
So what would be some advice that you could give to our viewers as a sort of a first step towards?
Yeah, this is good. I'll relate it to, I read a book by Susan Jeffers called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And there was a line in that I highlighted, and it just keeps coming back time and time again when I think about this. And it was, take the sticker off your forehead that says, I want you to like me, and put it on the mirror where it belongs. And that was really deep. I related to that. But still, I could look in the mirror and I could understand what I was meant to see, but the way I found really getting a true picture of who I was to ask people I loved, you know, what do you see? What is it about me that you like. And I tell you what, this is such a good exercise. I recommend it to anyone. When you hear what people actually think of you, it really is quite humbling, but it lifts you up, and you start identifying with the good things about yourself rather than consciously putting yourself down for all the things that you notice that you're doing wrong. And you start hearing how you're expressing yourself in life, and you can bring more of that. Once people tell you, you can amplify it and work on that.
Thanks so much, Steve.
Oh, you're welcome, Linda.
And we'll be back another time with you talking on another amazing topic. Any more information on Steve Hall and living a life of value and meaning, and particularly with identity and uniqueness, then please go to his webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au, and we'll see you after the break. Welcome back, and next we have Helen Mack back with us for the third in her series about optimising outcomes, and today it's about maintaining momentum. So over to you really, Helen. How do we maintain momentum?
Isn't it hard? Sometimes we get things going, we just get started, and then something gets in our way and we grind to a halt. Or it just feels so hard that we never even get going in the first place. So maximising momentum is about taking advantage of the little improvements, of the little successes that we have along the way. So the idea here is, one of the important elements is celebrating success, even tiny wee ones. Often we wait to celebrate until a big thing has happened, until we've achieved something wonderful and marvellous, and it just gets so hard to keep going, because the good goals, the big goals that we achieve during our lives, whether that be a community goal, a family goal, a health goal, a wealth goal, whatever, they're not going to happen overnight. The big ones take time and effort. If we don't take time out along the way to go, yay, I made a tiny step forward, yay, I made that adjustment. If we don't celebrate along the way, then it can very much feel like a grind. So maximising momentum is partially about celebrating the baby steps along the way and not waiting until the end for the big party. As you and I know, sometimes goals change. If you wait till the end, you might not get to the end that you thought it was going to be. You might have had a detour and end up in a completely different outcome in terms of what you want to be able to celebrate. So as a very small example, I got married in isolation. So we had all kinds of plans for this fabulous wedding ceremony that we were going to have, and it ended up being me and my beautiful new husband and 8 friends in a library at his farm. It was wonderful. But if we had only chosen to celebrate the big event, then we wouldn't have been celebrating the little wins along the way, the little pieces of the puzzle that fell in. The fact that my dress arrived 48 hours before the wedding, that was a celebration. So all of those little pieces kept us going at a time when sometimes it felt really, really hard. We need to make sure that we're recognising our efforts and the efforts of others in our team, our crew, our family, our group. Recognising other people's efforts can also help our momentum build and grow.
It can even be, because I was just tuned into that, I kind of heard a lot of this stuff, and then I thought, what really clicked with me was something like, and I'm sure you use this, is like giving yourself a treat when you get to a certain stage, or really celebrating it in a way that is important for you.
And what you've said there is perfect. What's important to you. So what you might use to celebrate and what someone else might use to celebrate can be two completely different things. And I think we also have an unfortunate habit of deciding that we're going to celebrate with big stuff. So as an example, I'm a reader, I love reading, and so a treat could be just spending an hour with a book, curled up in a corner, or it could be going and buying a book, whether that be online or wandering to a bookshop. One of my very good friends and business partners, what he does is when he's achieved a small goal that he wants to celebrate, he takes himself off to the movies. He has 3 young children. He goes to the movies to watch a U-Butte, boys kind of adventure flick, no children, popcorn, relax, do nothing for a couple of hours, and then comes out refreshed and ready to take the next step. So there's no rules about what the celebration has to be.
No, that's wonderful. It just is what boosts your optimism, isn't
Correct.
it?
What makes you feel good? Yeah.
Great, great. How we can maintain an optimistic attitude, especially, I mean, there's always changes happening in life. We always have the things evolving, as you've been sharing in previous segments. And how can we maintain that?
So when we're looking at maintaining momentum, the optimistic attitude is clearly part of it. We need to be able to roll with the punches. We need to deal with the ups and downs. I think if life was just flat and everything was the same all the time, it would be quite boring. But we do have to deal with peaks and troughs. We have to deal with detours and obstacles. And to maintain momentum, we have to do two things simultaneously. We have to keep our eye on the prize. So we have to keep one eye, if you like, on the ultimate goal, and keep checking that we're still on path for that, or has the detour taken us somewhere we like? And then the second piece is that we need to keep an eye on the road ahead of us. Is there a dirty great big hole? Do we need to detour? Are there things that we need to adjust so that we don't have too many troughs? Because sometimes the troughs that we fall in are of our own making. Sometimes we need to make sure that we don't fall into those troughs. But if we do, that's okay. We're allowed to pick ourselves up, dust ourselves off, and take the next step.
Such a thing as too much of a good thing, too much momentum about going forward?
Yeah, I think sometimes if we're changing too fast or taking on too many new things, our system goes into shock. And so too much momentum, too much change can be exhausting. So it's great to really get yourself going, but make sure that you're monitoring your energy levels. Make sure that you are filling yourself up both with food and water, like the general, nutrition type things, but also with hanging out with good people, putting in some positive or affirming information into your head, making sure that you're not spending time with people who are naysayers about your goal. So too much momentum can be exhausting, and if we get too fast, we sometimes just need to go, okay, I just need a time out. Sometimes too much momentum will take us past the point where we should have made an adjustment, and when we end up at the other end of the road, we'll go, this isn't quite where I wanted to be.
And easy to go off course then, I suppose, and go off on the path and suddenly realise that that's not really good feeling for me.
That's right. If we go back to our questions from last time, just checking in with the why. Why was I doing this in the first place is a good way to check. And from years ago, I remember going to a training around goal setting in the business, in the corporate kind of sense, and they said, it's all very good to be climbing the ladder, but every now and then you have to make sure that it's leaning up against the right wall.
Thank you, Helen. And we'll finish the show now on that. And for more information on Helen Mack and optimising outcomes and maintaining your momentum, then please go to her webpage on our website, healthwellbeingandlifestyle.com.au. And we'll be back with Helen next time talking about how to maintain an optimistic mindset.